Regularly scheduled public meeting of October 18, 2021 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this meeting has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board, electronic message boards, WCTV, and on the Township website.
Hand out, Stacy.
Okay. Yes, we're having a technical problem.
Yeah, baby. I'll be breaking with an 8. Just try this. Sorry.
It's okay. I apologize.
Okay. Try again.
Keep going. Okay. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements.
I hear something over here.
I know.
Yeah.
Is this disconnected?
This is.
It's like the internal speaker got hooked.
Yeah, everything. I didn't pull it back together again.
Ricky, can you come down?
Here, do you want to follow this one? Because it sounds like it's coming from this here. Underneath Desiree's phone. That one? That one. Yep, that's not in something.
That's beyond me right there. Talking into it?
Okay, here,
I mean,
I'll,
listening?
hello? Hello? Nope, something, now I got it. You're good. Ricky, you don't have to come down.
Thanks.
Sue also does transmissions and
Beam me
small
up, Scott.
engine repair.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. My apologies.
Okay. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at mayor and council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sue, roll call, please.
Councilman Casio.
Here.
Councilman DeSena.
Here.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Here.
Councilman Sears.
Here.
Council President Feeney.
Here. Public service announcement, October. Let the record reflect also in attendance Mayor Calamari, Township Administrator Tovo, Township Attorney Pollard, Gary Vinci Auditor, and Township Clerk Lukowski. Public service announcement, October 18, 2021. Vaccines are available, including the 3rd dose. Everyone 12 or older who lives, works, or studies in New Jersey is eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. We encourage all Bergen County residents to visit www.bergencovidvaccine.com. For those who require assistance with scheduling, please call 201-967-4070, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Please visit our website for appointments, walk-up locations, and further help. General election 2021. There are 3 ways to vote in the general election. Please visit our website for all the details. For those completing a vote by mail ballot, please make sure to turn over your ballot and complete both sides. Washington Township Police Department announces Frontline, offering residents the ability to now request overnight parking, vacation watch, and pet management. Please visit our website for further information. Flu shot clinic will be held on Wednesday, November 10th. Those wishing to get a flu shot must register in advance. Please call Northwest Bergen Regional at 201-445-7217 to register. Leaf collection begins November 1st with Zone 1. New pay increases for election poll workers. If interested, please visit our website for further information. How much is it? It's $300. It's now $300. Bergen County Satellite Office and Passport Outreach Services will be at the Township on Tuesday, October 19th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Senior ID and veteran photo cards will also be done at this time. Free rabies clinic will be held on Saturday, November 6th from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. at Town Hall. Outboo your neighbors by entering the Township of Washington 2nd Annual Home Decorating Contest. Please visit our website for the entrance form and further information. Also, please note that there is a drive-in movie sponsored by the town. It's also on the website, which I believe is, what's the date?
This Friday.
This Friday.
The 22nd.
22nd.
It's very cute, by the way.
Approval of minutes, June 21st, 2021, public meeting, conference meeting. I'll make the motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
June 24th, 2021, special public meeting. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have now asked Township Clerk Bukowski to do a presentation on the 3 ways to vote. Sue?
All right, we have these in the office. These are also on the website. Ricky should be showing it as well on TV right now. County has put together some really good information about how to vote this year. In fact, it's so saturated anywhere you turn, you could probably find it. So there are 3 ways to vote this year.
Excuse me, you can't hear that. You can't hear what I'm saying. It's not coming out of the speakers here.
Rose, is this any better? Is this okay? I'm sorry. I thought I was loud enough.
I mean, you spoke too far away from the microphone.
Okay, I'm here. Ready? Okay. This is on the website. I'm going to just follow along. You can look it up on the website. If you don't understand something, you can also call me at the office. We're there every day to answer your questions. There are 3 ways to vote this year for general election. One would be if you go to your regular polling location, which will be either in this room or in the senior center on Tuesday, November 2nd, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Look at your sample ballot for your district number. That'll tell you which room, but you're only going to have about 100 feet to walk, not even, so we'll help you. Don't worry about that. The other way would be if you've got a vote by mail ballot. Now, you need to have an application in order to get a vote by mail ballot unless you put in for all future elections. We could have done it previously. So last year, everyone got a vote by mail ballot. You're not getting one this year for this one until you request it. And if you haven't gotten one and you need one, it's got to be in by October 26th, received at the county before you get one. You can go down and deliver it yourself. However, on the other side, if you can't do the vote by mail, we have early voting starting on Saturday on the 23rd. The locations are on the back here as well, up on the top. And they are going to be from the 23rd to the 31st. On Monday through Saturday at 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sundays will be 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The nearest ones to Township would be Woodcliff Lake, Rivervale, or Paramus if you want to go to Bergen Community College. All right, so you can vote that way. If you have a mail-in ballot, it's going to be the same drop box locations. We do not have a drop box location out front, so please don't put your ballots in there. I cannot accept them. I can't put them in the mail. I can't do any of that for you. In fact, I had somebody come today to pick one up because they did drop it in the box. All right, so there are 3 different ways you can vote. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call. Okay, 201-664-4425. Thank you.
I have a question on that. Do you think we can put a sign maybe on that drop box?
We did.
Do not? Okay, great.
We do.
Perfect.
And it's also not your sample ballots that you're getting. You should have gotten a mail-in ballot about 2.5 weeks ago. Sample ballots also hit your doorstep over the weekend, probably the end of last week and over the weekend. The sample ballot is not your mail-in ballot. Please don't try to mail that because that's not going to count for anything. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for doing that. I know.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And she presented to the seniors this past week, so thank you very much for doing that.
You're welcome.
There was a misprint on the agenda. The order is wrong, so we're going to move on to general public comment. Limit 5 minutes. Motion to open the public comment portion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to come up and speak?
It's okay. Hello. My name is Roy Manelli, 445 Maple Avenue, Washington Township. I'm here tonight to comment on the Pascack Press article. The title of the article is Borough Urges Pressure on Airport Over Airplane Noise, okay? The article interviews Councilwoman Jacqueline Garaletta from Woodcliff Lake in her efforts to get the FAA to use a newly approved pathway for pilots to land at Teterboro Airport via the new route through 17, okay? Councilwoman Garoletta states that the FAA says Teterboro is a small airport, general aviation airport that allows pilots to choose their pathway into the airport. Now, if I may, going back to the 70s and 80s, prior to the formation of this TANACC committee in 1987, as I recall, one of the main factors was planes flying over Hackensack Hospital at an altitude of approximately plus or minus 700 feet while landing at Teterboro. Sad to say, they are still flying over the hospital today. The planes fly over my house, down Forest Avenue, through Paramus, Maywood, over the hospital, and into the airport. The new flight path down Route 17 bypasses the hospital. Hackensack University Medical Center is much larger today than it was in the 70s and 80s. There are thousands of people working there, doctors, nurses, patients, and staff. We all know somebody who works there. Because this is a modern-day hospital, there are radioactive material, C scans, and miles of oxygen lines within the hospital complex. A plane having a problem and not reaching the airport. How many times have we heard that through the years? Okay? How many times? Okay, therefore, due to the flyovers over Hackensack Hospital, I am calling for the FAA to make the hospital a restricted airspace, a no-fly zone, and mandate that the planes, if they are to use this airport, Teterboro, to use the new pathway over Route 17 to enter the airport. All the Pascack Valley mayors, along with the mayors of Paramus, Maywood, and Hackensack, should meet on this important safety issue now that we have a new pathway through 17. And also help this brave councilwoman, Miss Garoletta. Okay? That's all I have to say. By the way, I have some copies of my statement. The clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Marinelli?
Yeah, no.
So how do you say your
Yeah.
name?
Manelli.
Manelli.
I'll scan this and send this to you.
How to spell my name?
How do you say your name?
Mainelli. Roy.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Pistono, please. No, it's okay. You were next.
That's all right, that's all right.
Okay.
I thought they had a question.
No. They had just come up at the same time, so.
I just wanted to follow him, and I asked her if I could.
No, it's okay.
I'm Mary Ellen Stickle, 191 Walnut Street. I'm speaking tonight about the noise and the air traffic going into Teterboro Airport also. The noise has gotten progressively worse over the past year. This summer, it was difficult to sit outside, especially on a Sunday afternoon when after Jeff kept flying over our town. I'm on Walnut, and they come right over my house also. The jets are flying lower, and they are larger and more frequent. On Town Day, located on Memorial Field, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but two planes crisscross. I don't know if anybody
I did,
noticed that or
yes.
not. I ended up taking a picture of it. It went right over our heads. I was shocked. It was right over Washington School. I hear the jets at night, early in the morning, and many over the weekend. I do file complaints on a website called plainnoise.com. Our airspace is no longer ours, even though there is a new flight path over Route 17. There's the councilwoman that you were mentioning from Woodcliff Lake. She will represent her town on October 27th at the Teterboro Airport Noise Abatement Advisory Committee meeting. Do we have anyone who attends these meetings who officially represents the Township of Washington? If not, why not? And I feel like this is affecting our community's health and our home values. I think most of you agree with me. I think it has gotten worse. I'm hearing it all the time. This morning I woke up at 6 and they come in. And they're coming in lower and they're louder. And we're not getting a break from it. And I kind of feel like it's like the rich people have kind of just taken over our airspace. So that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Mrs. Stickle. Mrs. Pistono.
Lynn Pistono, 631 Washington Avenue.
I can't hear you, Liz.
Move up.
Yeah. At the 9:20 meeting, I questioned about the landscaping around the new emergency services building and how in the world is this monstrosity of a building going to be softened up? I know you won't be assisting us by putting up trees on my property to hide the view we see daily out of every front-facing window of my home. So again, I ask, what is being done? Rather than spend 15 grand on an unnecessary cupola, perhaps that money should have been spent on beautification of Washington Avenue since you devalued our properties. You all acknowledged at past meetings you wouldn't want this horrendous building in your front or backyards. So I ask you bluntly, what are you going to do for those of us on Washington Avenue? I also asked about not having the 5-foot signs on the building lit with LED lights. It is early enough in the process to change that. The building will be lit up like a Christmas tree anyway, so why the need for 5-foot LED lit signs? Anyone passing by is not going to not notice the building. Where's the compromise? You screwed us from the start, so how about giving us something? You had a very unfair advantage hiding behind the law instead of being forthright. I truly don't understand how you can hold your heads high with all the deception that you have done. This is to those on the Firehouse Committee because you're sitting back and not reacting. We only get sympathetic rhetoric, and to me, that's very insincere. Again, I put the notion out to Washington Township residents to come let the mayor and council hear your concerns and complaints. If you can't make the meetings, then call and email, and hopefully you get a response. It takes more than a few people. Let your voices be heard because this is your hard-earned tax money being spent. And to Council President Feeney, what was the result of someone working on Saturday 10/9 morning without a foreman on site? No one, not even a fire department member, is allowed in there without the foreman there. And I want to know if any summonses were issued. Thank you. Oh, and thank you to the police and volunteers.
Who else would like to come up? Mr. Pistono.
John Pistono, 631 Washington Avenue. I want to address water retention on the new emergency services facility. Can't help but noticing 5 to 6 cement tanks in front of the EMS portion of the building and on the east side of the EMS portion of the building. Also a deep trench. As I said last meeting, I was under the impression that was already taken care of. My problem with that from the very beginning was water retention in the height of the building. And I think you all remember that. The property is elevated where these tanks are going in. Water finds its lowest level. Where is the water leach field? I don't understand it. Okay, the next thing, When is the bare wood on the east and the west trusses going to be covered, painted, etc., tar papered, whatever? I'm getting tired of looking at it. Third, the floodlight, which we talked about the last meeting, and I asked Mr. Mayor, can you please shut it off? I'm tired of looking at it out of every one of my windows, every evening, 7 days a week. I'm sure you would love it all, okay? And they're still on. So I'm still waiting, like everything else, waiting for phone calls, waiting for things to get done. Incidentally, the street is absolutely filthy, Washington Avenue. Every time it rains, I have baseball-sized nuts that come washing down. They're all in my driveway. They're all on Dr. Condera's brand-new sidewalk, which he put a small fortune into. Don't know why, because he moved. But I'd like to see the street cleaned once in a while, okay? I wore my street broom down by 50%. I'm not buying another one. I'm on my 4th snow blower. So I'm going to let the town do what we pay to do from here on out, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pistano. Who else would like to come up? Oh, just wait, he had his hand up first.
Good evening, everybody. Brian Beekman, 638 Washington Avenue, Washington Township. I guess while I'm here, I'll just reiterate my displeasure with this whole building situation, the emergency service building again. Sure. I wanted to reiterate my displeasure with this whole thing. I think that there's been a lack of transparency, a lack of getting the citizens involved in their input in this. I think the rendering that Boswell did of this thing doesn't look anything like the size of it. I think the funding of this thing was just not, there's no transparency. I think if the taxpayers knew that this thing was bonded and they're going to be paying for the future, they're not going to be happy about that. There's also a lot of things that alarm me about the planning of this. Some trees were taken down. I don't mind them taken down. They were on my property, and I've got a survey here of mine and the town site survey. And it just is kind of in hand with all the other stuff that's been going on with that. The trees, initially they took some trees down. They were on your property, township property. And then they came back and about a month ago, they took down trees on mine. The gentleman that was there, the construction foreman, Yvonne, said that they had to be taken down because they were unsafe. Okay, that's fine. I'm building a fence up to the border, so I'm okay with that. I'm not going to really complain about that. I mean, you're doing me a favor. But, you know, the fact, I called up Mr. Torvo, and he's claiming that there's confusion there over whose trees are whose. He's telling me the tree up in the front of my house is mine, and the ones in the back that they took down are theirs. So it alarms me that there's no clear understanding of the boundary line, and Boswell's plans are in line with the survey that I've got. So the trees that I'm claiming were mine really were mine. And I think there's one that's remaining that's 10 feet away from my house, just outside the boundary line, is the township's. And if the other trees are taken down because the root system Yvonne told me the root system was going away and going to make it unsafe, then why are they leaving this remaining tree there where they're messing with it and digging right up to it? So there's a little bit of alarm there. I've already had a tree come down that was on the township property. A branch broke a few years back, and I ended up incurring damage to my house. And fortunately, nobody got hurt, and it wasn't terrible damage, but still, you know, there's some concern. So there's a large tree there, it belongs to the township. And if the root system was unsafe on the ones they took down, I would think that this one is going to be unsafe as well. I also have a lot of concerns. I mean, to me, people are complaining about the noise and the planes. This is like, you know, outrageous what was going on here. So I just think that there was just total lack of consideration in planning. And what's done is done, but I think that the township should take more care in future projects of this size and this nature to be more transparent, get the citizenship involved, let them know what's going on rather than railroad it through. I can't help that this was pushed through because there was a big response years ago against the CVS. To me, that's what it seems like. I could be wrong, but, you know, that's the way it seems like it went down to this one. They had this, you know, the letter we supposed to got, which we never had gotten, basically had this couple of lines on there saying, come to the meeting where you're going to go over the renovation of the firehouse. That's not a renovation. That's just a total major restructuring of that entire block. and they should have been more transparent and honest with that, what was going on, and let the citizens have more say in that before it went through. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Beekman. Who else would like to come up? Mrs. Osmond? Oh, okay. No, Mrs. Osmond? Okay.
David Snide, 91 Windsor Circle. A couple things I just want to address too. The airplane noise was something that we had taken care of many years ago. And when I've been here a long time, close to 20 years, and we seem to have corrected it. And now all of a sudden they're coming in, and obviously that is a major airport now. And as someone said, it's the pretty affluent people that are flying in there, because obviously they have the private jets. And I think the gentleman that talked about Hackensack Hospital is absolutely correct. That could be an accident waiting to happen, and we should do something with the assembly, our assembly people, our congressmen, and whatever way we got to do. And we should join this in full fashion, because the quality of life has changed due to the planes going over Washington Township. I hear them all the time. I'm in the Commons. It's nonstop. And if we don't do anything about it, the FAA will just do whatever they want to do, because they can do whatever they want to do. And it took years to fight this. And now we're going to be back doing the same thing. And it's a shame, because quality of life, as we all know in this town, is very important to everyone. So I hope someone will contact the proper people, advise us, and advise the town as to what we're doing to help out this situation. I'm also very pleased to see Rosa back, who has been an advocate of the town for many years. I don't think she's speaking tonight because she asked why I have a pad. And I said, Rosa, you got to come. They're finally having live meetings here. She says, okay, I'll come. And she saw my pad. How many things are you talking about? So, Rosa, keep coming. And I told you, if you need a ride, I'll pick you up. The other thing is, the public parking space that's going to take place, is it going to be across from the Seasons that we're going to use? The town is going to have the public parking for the residents that are still commuting, even if they're commuting a few days a week or something. Is that going to be part of the public parking space that the Seasons has allowed us to use? And from what I understand, that I guess they will be allowed to use that place for their parking on some of the facilities. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I would like to hear an answer on that, because that's very important. I appreciate Colonial Ave. One of the things that Rosa would have mentioned tonight was the speeders going down Colonial Ave. I'm there all the time on my bicycle, okay? I'm not walking there, but I'm on my bicycle. And they don't slow down. There's one slow down area that's lit up as an LED that says you're going over 25 miles an hour, but it's on the wrong side of Colonial Avenue. It should be up by the front of Washington Ave, not at the end. Some people know why it's down there. I won't comment on that. I was pleased to see that we had a pedestrian walk thing now on the corner of Colonial and Washington Ave. Rosa, I'm not sure if you just saw it. I just noticed it. Stop for pedestrians. I know, I'm telling you, I just saw it. I'm not. I know. That's the only way, Rosa. I agree. And I also said, going into the mall, we needed something too. That same type of sign that I used to say, pedestrian crossing only, even though you have all the signs up there. That's got to be done.
You have 53 seconds left, Mr. Snyder.
Okay. I think, and I agree with the gentleman, that we should not be working on Saturdays without someone being there. I think that's totally wrong. I hope we'll start working on the whatever you call it, the Tyvek, that has to go up because it's looking pretty ratty there with the rain, and I hope we'll do that. And that's it. And again, everybody have a great day. Hope I'll hear some answers. Keep the noise down. That's all I ask you. Otherwise, we will have an effect on property prices besides everything else.
Yeah, it's true. Mrs. Osmond.
Mary Ann Osmond, 960 Adams Place. The first thing I'm going to say is, I wasn't going to say anything about the airplanes, but Janet Sopkowitz was a very big proponent. She had people sign petitions and she went to all sorts of meetings. She was somebody who really did get involved with the airplanes. Then I also want to say, I've seen two different things on Facebook. There seems to be a memorial going to happen here from town, in this building, and then there's one in Bethany, which her cousins will be at. I think somebody should really, I would like to know what is what and where is what's happening. Also, I don't see the CFO. I know the CFO has asked to come here for this meeting. Of course, I see Mr. Vinci is here, and I said hello to him, known him for many years. If he is supposed to be here, I just don't know why, if the council is asking for him to be here, why he isn't here. I would like an update on the signs and the windows in the shopping center. I look at your agenda for your conference, and there's nothing on it. Well, that would be something to discuss. You have this ordinance that talks about signs. The shopping center is abusing it every which way but up, but nobody's discussing anything. I look at an agenda with nothing on it. There are so many things that need to be discussed in this town, and it's just not on an agenda. I'm sorry. I saw the new Westwood sign going down Washington Avenue into Westwood, and it's beautiful, a lovely, lovely sign. I was quite impressed. And then, of course, you come back to the township and you see, again, like I said 2 weeks ago, this little bitty sign. I wonder if anybody looked into it and who approved it? And did the council see these signs? I mean, this is something the council could get involved with. I mean, it's not just the mayor to do it. You could see the signs. You could give an opinion. There's a thing on tonight that you're going to be doing in order to do the online auctions. There are 12 cars in the back. 12 cars that I don't think they move. If those 12 cars, they could be on the auction. Well, this should have been done way before this remediation happened. Everyone knew from June that the remediation was going to be happening soon. So those cars should have been, if they aren't needed anymore, get rid of them. It would have given extra parking. I'll be honest with you, voting is going to be a disaster. You can't possibly have 6. I was the clerk here, and I originally thought I always wanted 6 in this building. And I was thinking there was problems. Now with the way things are here, there's no way you're going to have parking that's going to be easy for people to vote. Let me see here. Many things that you could discuss. The signs in the windows. I'm not saying they're good, they're bad. I don't have an opinion on them. But you have an ordinance. You either go with the ordinance or you change the ordinance. Area of garages in a B zone. That's something the zoning board has discussed. And the council, should have come back to the council by now and said to the council, please look at that because I think there's something wrong. There's an awful lot of houses and garages that need ordinances, need variances. They shouldn't have to. That ordinance, when it was done, might have been not the right way of doing it. Look into it. There are many things this council is just, I don't know what's happening here. I've worked in this town for I don't know how many years. I've never seen an agenda with nothing on it. Nothing. And I know it's a couple weeks before election, but still put something on it. And also this has to do with the firehouse. I keep hearing in January. Well, how do we finish a building? You can finish a building maybe, but you have to take down an old building. You have to do all the macadam. And if I'm not mistaken, the people who do all the macadam, they close down in the wintertime. So no way is this going to be completed. I mean, that's what I hear in the middle of January, and it's never going to happen. I'm sorry, and I try to be a Debbie Downer, but in a case like this, that's very realistic.
Mrs. Osmond.
Excuse me?
51 seconds.
Okay.
Mrs. Osmond.
The road program, 10 weeks left. When is it going to happen?
Thank you, Mrs. Osmond. Would anybody else like to come up? Ms. Rosa wants,
I'm gonna be real quick. Okay, thank you. It's Cora Beekman from 638 Washington Avenue, and it's about those trees again. I have my survey, your survey here, showing that the trees are definitely mine and in our property, and they were taken down. It's kind of an illegal taking. Who do I submit this to?
Mr. Tovo.
Yes, yeah, because I was hoping you'd call me to straighten this out, but I'm feeling neglected. And since you took my trees, I'm hoping you'll take your tree down, because I don't know why. I don't know why you took them down, or why you didn't take them all down in the first place. And I'm sure that, money was spent to have everyone come and do the job right. I mean, it must have cost money for a second round, but I don't know what I want to say. It's just I wish there was better communication about what this was going to look like, because it is getting on my nerves. I was really excited kind of about it, but the beeping all day is what the noise that I hear. I mean, it's really all day. And, I'm feeling a bit like I'm living in, I'm feeling like an invisible citizen a little bit, and that maybe, and I'm with my neighbors on this, that I really feel sorry for the people who just moved in and they have a surprise neighbor now. But it is the matter of the trees, and I would appreciate an apology from Mr. Tovo and an acknowledgement that they are my trees, because it was a tug of war last meeting. That's all. Thank you.
thank you, Mrs. Beekman. Rosa.
Hello, okay. I want to speak about Colonial Boulevard. Oh, Rosa Damba, 423 Colonial Boulevard.
Thank you.
Why was only the speed signs put down at the lower end of Colonial and not through all of Colonial Boulevard? You have it before going south to Ridgewood Road. You have it before of Lincoln and after Lincoln. Now, who is so special over there that they got this? And I've been complaining about Colonial Boulevard for years. There's no sidewalks at the other end, so you got to walk in the street. We want signs, traffic signs just like that, up at the other end going towards Washington Avenue. And I want to know why a crosswalk isn't on the other side of Washington Avenue. It's only on the side where they come down the hill. And they're going too fast. Well, that's how I talk, and I want to make sure you know it. Oopsie daisy. Because the speakers don't work in the back.
I'll have Ricky check them.
I want to know why it happened that way, why these signs were just put down that end and not all through Colonial. Now, with your voting thing, it says here, traffic control. You can't cross Pascack Road here by Manhattan. The sign goes on with the figure, and you're not even in the middle of the street, and you have a red sign, and that's for years. And they're going over 40 miles an hour on Pascack Road. Why do we have 40 miles an hour on Pascack Road when from River Edge all the way to Oradell, they don't have 40 miles an hour? It goes from 30, and when it hits Oradell, it's 25 miles an hour. why don't we have this? This is a very busy area. And I think something should be done about it before it's too late. And I wind up splattered all over Washington Avenue and Pascack Road. And there's enough of me to be splattered all over. Another thing I want to say is about when the library closed, people were dumping their garbage all over in front of the library. Nobody did anything. You ladies, nobody walked there. I couldn't get a hold of anybody. None of you people have a landline phone. I didn't know at the time that the mayor had an office in the shopping center. So I'll exclude him. But I got a hold of Mr. Cassio. You got to give that man 5 stars plus another one. Because I don't know what happened after I spoke to him, right? Someone cleaned up the whole, it was full of garbage. Now, none of you people even know about it. Because you're not interested. You're just interested sitting up there on your derrieres and not doing anything. You know, you might not like what I have to say. Follow your election papers. You're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Rosie, you have 49 seconds.
No, and another, I got 1 minute,
43 seconds.
42 seconds?
41.
Oh, 41. On December 2018, in the paper, public notice by the freeholders, this town was supposed to get $30,000 for a senior bocce court. I don't see no bocce court. What happened? Now, I think if things like this happen, you collect the money and it goes somewhere, maybe in petty cash, who knows? We need a forensic audit going back to Jackie Doe because there is something wrong with the budget. I am not a full finance manager, but I know that there's some money is getting hidden somewhere. Now, what happened to this 30,000?
Time's up, Rosa. I'm sorry.
What? I'm over. Put
I'm
that on
sorry.
the agenda. I want to know what happened to the 30,000 because I want my bocce court in the senior park. Yes.
Mike Werfel, 880 Crest Place. Just a couple of quick things. One, while someone was speaking before, we actually heard one of the planes go overhead.
Yep.
So it's pretty obvious it is an issue. Now, I wanted to find out if you guys actually got a copy of the revised garbage ordinance, or I apologize, garage ordinance that was sent by the zoning board.
No.
We covered it 2 meetings in a row in the zoning board. The letter was supposed to go out to both the council and to the planning board. It's the majority of the applications that we see involve that. So we wanted to get a revised ordinance. We reworded it. We checked with, the engineer to make sure that we could, submit that language, but it does have to go to you guys as well as the planning board for review. So we're hoping at some point you receive that letter. So sorry if you haven't, but it is actually something we're trying to work on. According to some papers I saw, we have precisely $464,521 for the firehouse as of October 5th. And now I've never built a firehouse, but I find it hard to believe that we could finish the interior, knock down the old one, build a parking lot, and stay on time and on budget, as Mr. Mayor said, in January. So I'd like to hear from somebody, maybe Mr. Tovo, hopefully you started visiting the place. It's a big project in town. It is important. Somebody to tell us if we're going to run out of money and we're going to have to get more. And I didn't see anything on the conference agenda. I'm not going to get into it, but it is a lawsuit. There was not a very good article that was put in the record. It's terrible to see a homeowner have to go through what may have happened to a homeowner who was trying to build on Fern. And hopefully you guys discuss it. I would like to think that you guys would, because if something like that were to happen in town, you'd want to know if that's actually taking place, or at least speak to the people involved on our various departments. It doesn't reflect well on us. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Ruffle. Would anybody else like to come up? Motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to inform our viewing audience of the good news about reworking about the airplanes?
Yes. Yeah, we're going to start off with that because Mr. Manelli was the first one to speak.
Excuse me, can you speak into the microphone so we can all hear?
Better? Is that better? Okay. Yeah, at my Pascack Valley Mayor's meeting this past Wednesday, this was a topic that was brought up. I have the date of that meeting on my calendar. I plan on going with other, council people and or mayors from our Pascack Valley group to see what we can do. Based on the preliminary research, a lot of what they say is educating the pilots to use the Route 17 approach as their primary approach. But they say it is up to pilots' discretion which one of the three approaches they use to the airport. So, we're just going to go, make our case and, see if they can educate those pilots that there are other approaches to the airport. So we're going to, do our best on that one.
Is your microphone on?
It is. The green light is on.
Yes, on. Okay.
Try this one, maybe.
Maybe.
Better?
Use both. Have them both on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
that's better.
great. Regarding the firehouse, let me say, we've been over this a lot of times, but I appreciate you always coming to give your input on it. Let me say, since it is a $6 million project, to the extent that we are allowed to, I would have no trouble if we have done things to your property that you would like landscaping. I would have to check with the attorney on that to see if we can provide landscaping on private property to hopefully minimize the impact that the building is having. So I'd be happy to do that. I think out of a $6 million project, assuming it is allowed, we could find some money to help you with that. As far as the street being filthy, I'll find out if the contractor is supposed to be responsible for cleaning it. If they're not, we'll get it addressed one way or another. Let's see. The funding and bonding, Mr. Beekman, was all done in public meetings. As by law, it has to be. So, might have been discussed in closed sessions originally, but then it came out in public meetings to be discussed. So I don't think any of us up here are trying to, pull the wool over anyone's eyes. It was done in public and the vote was taken in public. Let's see, airplane noise again. Public commuter parking, as I call it. We're trying to negotiate with a facility within walking distance. I'm not at liberty to say who yet because we are in negotiation. So that would still have to be enclosed, but we are trying to get public parking for the commuters within walking distance of the bus stop. Regarding speeding on Colonial, I will have the police look into it. Again, it's a constant issue. We can't obviously park, a police officer there all day, but I'll see if they'll do more, speed, whatever they, I don't want to call it speed trap, but speed enforcement. Let's see. Parking during election, we're going to have a officer out there directing traffic. So obviously, we couldn't time too well when the soil abatement started. And, it's unfortunate it's happening during our election, but we're going to do everything we can to mitigate the parking problem. I hope that the administrator will be able to talk a little bit more about trees near the firehouse. Colonial Boulevard speed signs, Rosa. It was left up to the traffic department within the police department to decide where the signs are going to go. I will relay your concerns. Maybe they can put more money in the 2022 budget to get some more of them and put them, in more places on Colonial. The library, while the library was closed, people were dumping garbage. I was not aware of it until you just mentioned it. You do stop by my office on a regular basis. It's always a pleasure to see you. I don't recall you mentioning it. If you did, I apologize, but I just don't recall it.
I didn't know you had an office there.
Okay, well, you do now. Okay.
Only Mr. Cassio had a telephone I could reach.
Okay. Mr. Werfel, I don't think we've received a letter from the zoning board on garages, at least at the planning board level. Perhaps Mr. Sears can comment on that as the council representative, but I don't think there's anything. And on the lawsuit, I know what you're referring to. Since there is a lawsuit, I cannot comment on it any further in public for reasons that I'm sure Mr. Pollard would, repeat. But, once a lawsuit is filed, we have to stay quiet as to what we say in public. So I think that that covered everything I had. Thank you.
Mr. Chobo, do you have anything to add?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor covered most of it. I'll cover a few things regarding trees and landscaping around the firehouse. Anyone living near the area that has come to me in person to discuss the future, I've been very open to whatever they feel would, restore the view they had before, and more than willing to do so. And Mr. Beekman, you were included in that conversation, up to and including the tree that your wife may have referred to, where we didn't take down one tree that was on your property. But I asked you while we're there, do you want it down? You declined. The two that were taken down near your property that I discussed with you, I know were on our property on a survey verified by the architect and the site engineer.
Wrong.
And also to question you at the end regarding fire department funding, there's more than adequate funding available to complete this project. Not having seen the document being referred to, that's all I can say. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Maybe you could just connect with the Beekmans on that again, just to clear that matter up.
I'd be happy to meet on site.
Mr. and Mrs. Beekman, if you could connect with Mr. Chobo again about the tree, please.
You never said anything about taking trees down.
Yeah. If you just mind
Just contact me
connecting
directly.
with them offline about that. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Collar, anything?
I'll just comment quickly on that lawsuit. Sorry. Okay. On the lawsuit that Mr. Werfel mentioned. It's not a good practice, Mr. Werfel, to take an article from a newspaper and then castigate town employees. That the building inspector's name is as a defendant, tax assessor's name is a defendant. I happen to know some factual background, and they were doing their job and they asserted their responsibilities the way they're supposed to. A plaintiff files a lawsuit and a newspaper might write an article about that lawsuit, but they're taking their information from the complaint. There are no reply papers, there's no reply side, there's no other side from the employees. So I just would recommend not being so quick to blame the township employees just because a lawsuit was filed. So, but there is a lawsuit pending. It's taking its due course. It just got filed. There was a notice of claim filed, and the suit itself just came in on Friday, as a matter of fact, Thursday or Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So, but it will be handled, and That's all that I have to say about that.
No, they're gonna make sure.
Okay. You sure?
Mhm.
Just mention it, or- Okay.
Possibly. I will. Look. Yeah.
Councilman Casio?
Sure. To the Beekmans, I empathize with your situation. I know I would probably be a little upset if someone cut my trees down. So I don't know if it was a mistake reading a survey or what the case may be, but I'm hoping the township can rectify, and make you whole again. It's hard to replace old trees like that. And what more can I say? I feel for you. Rose, I've never gotten a gold star in my life. I'll take it. I got a lot of silvers, but never a gold. You gave me 6. Thank you so much.
I never got to thank you.
That's okay, but thank you very much. I think we're all here to please, and, we all have jobs and we all work. So sometimes I'm at work, I can't answer my phone, and I can understand that, but we're all up here to do a service to the township and help you out as much as we can.
You because you have a medical phone.
I got an old phone. So good for old technology. I enjoy old technology.
I think that everybody should have some sort of
Well, Rose, thank you.
numbers that we can call.
You can always call the town clerk. You can always call the town clerk, and her responsibility is to relay the message.
Rosa, I will call you. Don't worry about it.
So, thank you. I'm glad we got that situated. With the air traffic, it goes directly over my house. I can read the guys reading the New York Times while they're going over my house. It's very low. Janet Sopkowitz was a proponent of that. She spent many long hours and days getting a petition to change it. I'm glad to hear that we have a different flight path now. Originally, why we had that flight path going through Washington Township was that they had radio beacons for the planes, and the FAA has installed new ones in different areas. So now they can vary their flight pattern, thank goodness, and it is up to the pilot at his discretion to use whatever flight path he wants. So hopefully a little education will help that situation out. Mr. Pistono, we talked about, things that the town can do better when we talk about building municipal complexes. We're going to discuss that tonight. I have that on the agenda. Let's see. I'm forgetting someone. Mr. Manelli, same thing. We're going to work on the flight path with the mayor. And that's all I have.
Can I say one thing?
No, not right now. Offline. I'll have to discuss it with you later. Okay? Whatever you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Casio. Councilman DeSena?
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Manelli and Mrs. Stickle, yes, the flight path currently is atrocious. It's very loud every day at every hour of the morning. I'm hoping these pilots could be educated as soon as possible to start taking the Route 17 flight path. Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to carpool on the 1027th, I'll drive us to the meeting. Mr. and Mrs. Pistono, the firehouse. I know that floodlight, I drove by the other night and it's still on. Hopefully we can get that removed and relocated so it's not blinding your property. The building is still not watertight, which concerns me. We're 3 months away from completion. The building is not watertight. The staircases haven't been installed. The elevator has not been installed. There's a lot of things in the building that are still missing, and it concerns me that we only have $464,000 left, and there's a lot of work to be done, and the building's still not watertight again. Mr. and Mrs. Beekman, thank you for sharing the survey that you showed us. I hope we did not take trees down on your private property, but if we did, I hope the town can make you just in that. Mr. Schneid, I think the parking lot you're talking about was a previous plan, which the mayor stated, I think 2 years ago, that Seasons has withdrawn of building a commuter lot at the old 3 houses. Mr. Mayor, is that correct, right? We had talked about it.
That is correct.
Yes, I think Mr. Schneid, what you're referring to is the plan of building a commuter shared lot.
Yeah.
That plan has been, I guess, rescinded by the owner with the agreement with the township, so that is no longer on the table. Mrs. Osmond, yes, the CFO is not here again. We did not see the signs. I know Mr. Cumming was a big proponent of getting the budget to replace all the signs in town. and at least they finally got replaced, so that's a good sign. Ms. D'Ambra, the speed signs, we need more speed surveys done on Colonial. It's very dangerous. People speed. Unfortunately, it's probably township residents that are doing the speeding, but we need to do something because somebody's going to get hit on Colonial. They're flying. I walk up and down. I walk across Lincoln just like you do every day, and they're going fast. The bocce court. I've been waiting for the bocce court at Martini Park for the last 3 years. I've told my friends we were going to start a bocce court league, but unfortunately, we still don't have a bocce court there.
I got the balls.
So hopefully we'll get one soon, Mrs. D'Ambra. That's all I have, Mrs. Feeney.
We missed you, Rose.
It's hard to follow up that comment. I'm not going to rediscuss everything that's here with the planes and everything. I do remember Janet worked very hard on that to get the air route changed. I did talk to the building foreman today while we were working on the trucks. He happened to pass by, and I asked him, why is the side of the building's not covered? And he said, well, he was waiting on his guy that was going to put the clapperboard up. And I said, well, can you call him today and maybe he could wrap it? And he said, well, he'll do that. And I said, well, I'll see you tomorrow morning so you can give me an idea why both sides are not sealed. So I will stop by tomorrow morning and ask him. He called his siding guy, and what was his response to that? So that's all I can give you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sears. Vice President Morgan?
Sure. So I'm glad that the air noise is being brought up. I wish Ms. Stickle were still here. During Town Day, I did notice the two planes crossing each other, and I was shocked by it. I was hoping that it was just like an illusion type thing where they were much lower and one was much higher, but they did really just go right over each other. So that was a little concerning. I appreciate that you are concerned with Hackensack Hospital. You're right. That would be just unbelievably catastrophic because of all of what you'd mentioned. I too want to find out when the bare wood will be covered. I did ask that. We noticed it's starting to turn. So that's definitely something that we need to address and figure out. With the streets being dirty, Mr. Pistono, the rain washing the nuts, I do think that it should be the builder's responsibility to clean it up. I mean, if we're having home construction, part of their job is to clean up after their day is through. So that would be an expectation. I would sure hope that that's going to be something that is an oversight maybe that they're going to remedy. What else? Mr. and Mrs. Beekman, the trees on the survey, I'm sorry that you are dealing with this. I'm sorry that you're going through that. You shared the survey and that's not, that's going to be very clear and defined there. So I'm sure that the town will make you whole on that if that is our issue, if that's something that we did, we as the town. The signs in town center, the ordinance, Mrs. Osmond, I'm going to follow up to, and I will make that my project over the next week and make sure that summonses or notices or letters are issued, see what has been issued, and then just continue to follow up on that. So I will do that. And then Rosa, signs only on one end of Colonial. I live on Colonial. I agree with you. I'm sorry, I live on Colonial. I agree with you that the speeding is unbelievable. I actually, when I came on council, I wanted a speed table. My husband and I have said we wanted speed bumps or speed tables since we got there. We have my children aren't so small anymore, but teenagers now that ride their bike. And I'm always terrified when they ride on Colonial. It is, especially when you get to my area, my house, coming from the other way, they could be doing 50 miles an hour. I would like to see more speed signs. I do think they help. They even help me when I don't realize I'm doing a little more than 25. So I think I would like to see them periodically put throughout that street. It is the largest, longest street in the town other than Mountain, but people use it because it's wide. So if there is a street to really focus on, that would be it. It's definitely, it's more than a through street. It feels like a main street.
All I want to know is why the people down at the southern end of Colonial more precious than us at the other end. That's what-
I'm right smack in the middle of that. It's as far away from my house as it is from yours. So I hear you. I would like to see it, periodically. That's something we can definitely follow up on. And as far as not recognizing the dirt, the garbage and all of that inside the library, actually, I'm a nurse. So during 2020, it was a really, really tough time for me throughout the pandemic. And I would walk constantly just to clear my head after work. And Mr. DeSena and Mr. Cassio and I, we would talk all the time about all of the litter that we saw on the ground everywhere throughout the town. So that was on my radar. I did bring it up. I did ask for the project tracker to show when the code enforcer was going to be around to kind of make sure that these places were cleaning up and that there was nothing all over the place. So if you go back in the meeting minutes, you'll see that I did bring it up once or twice during that time. So
We changed the litter ordinance too.
yes, and we did change the litter ordinance. We made it much stronger because people were leaving their masks all over the floor, all over the ground in a food town or Nicholas Markets. So we did, that was definitely something I was focused on. So that's all I have.
Thank you. For me, I agree, the airplane noise is getting out of control. I live in Northgate. It's difficult for us to sit outside. It's difficult for us to sit outside at my parents' house on Calvin Street. They seem to just go right from Northgate overhead, right down. And twice now, when it's been nice, we've closed the doors and gone inside. So I would love to join the mayor and Councilman DeSena to go to that October 27th meeting, especially I've lived here a very long time. I think it's important that they hear our voices in order to ensure some sort of change. I'm also going to be putting a petition out so that the residents who can't attend the meeting can sign the petition. They should know that all of the residents who are impacted. So I'll be putting that out, and I'll ask the town if it's okay if we put it on Facebook and the mayor's and the town page, so everybody can sign it electronically and we can send it off to them. I think, based on Mayor Softwood's past actions, that would help. So that if the town representatives can go and the residents can't, they'll at least hear that we're making noise about this. In regards to the bill, the Bearwood, I thank you, Councilman Sears, for taking the initiative and a positive to work with the foreman to get that rectified. That's great on your part. I appreciate that. I'm sorry you have to do that, though. Mr. and Mrs. Beekman, please connect with Mr. Tovo. And if you don't, my phone number is on the website. If you're not getting anywhere, my cell phone number is there. Mrs. Pistono, I did speak to you twice that day. From what I heard back, there was nobody in the parking lot when the police went over there. The white car was not there anymore. So there was no work going on, but the white car was not there. But they went over as soon as you called me and I called Mr. Tovo, they went immediately, just so you're aware. What else? Mr. Werfel, if you could share your numbers with me, because I've been kind of keeping scratch notes on the firehouse. I did not come up with that number. So if you have any documentation, if you could email it to me, please. Okay. I had done some research, speaking of the firehouse, because I myself was concerned that there was a lack of transparency and that the information wasn't put out to the residents. So I went back to 2018 and forward. So what I found was at the July 2019 meeting, Mr. Connolly came to the meeting, presented 3 sets of designs to the council and the mayor. And this was after the Firehouse Committee?
Fire and ambulance.
Fire and Ambulance Committee had been meeting since, I believe, January of 2019, is what I was told. Is that correct?
I would guess a little sooner,
So roughly from the beginning of 2019 till July of 2019, the Firehouse Committee met. okay, consistently, and they came up with 3 designs. And I have the meeting minutes here with me, which I read all of them from the July 2019 meeting. Mr. Connolly presented the 3 designs, which were reasonably similar. There were some differences in where the bays were and where the bunk rooms were and the which side the ambulance was on, which side the fire trucks were on, and the entrance and all that stuff. So it appears that the council asked a tremendous amount of questions. I will say that Councilman Ullman at the time, he asked 80% of the questions, I have to say. He asked some very good questions. There were some good questions from Councilman DeSena about where could they share bunk rooms? I think Mr. Ullman said the same thing. Then I think the mayor said based on law, they can't share, they need separate quarters. There was everything was revamped and redone. They sized the building down a lot also from what the original plan was, just to make you aware. But I will tell you that in the meeting minutes and during the discussion, there was not a dissent from any of the council members who were sitting here at that time. Well, I'm sorry, Mr.
Who are
Ullman,
sitting here.
Mrs. Osmond, who are sitting here at this time, who are sitting here.
Yeah, Mr. Ullman was.
But he's not sitting here now.
Oh, no, but I mean, yeah.
Yes, but he's not sitting here now. So I just want it to be transparent that the 3 designs were presented. And actually, I went back and I watched the meeting on YouTube. A lot of good questions were asked. Again, 80% of them were asked by Mr. Ullman, but there were no other questions of serious dissent. Okay, fast forward. Okay, so the council said, yes, we agree, 3 designs. I believe it went back to the Firehouse Committee, and they came back with the final design. And on October 7th of the 2019 meeting, which actually I was at, I believe Councilwoman Morgan was with me.
On that side, yes.
Yeah, we were sitting over here. And the final design was presented to the council, and the council agreed that this was the design they were going to go with. And that was the night they voted to push the funding forward also. So, and there was an open meeting with public comment in July and in October regarding the funding. I encourage you all to go back and watch the meeting and what the discussion was, because the discussion on the July meeting was quite good about how the building was going to be erected, what the rooms were going to be used for, how many trucks. There was even conversation around, originally, I believe, Councilman DeSena, you talked about why are we getting a custom ladder truck when we should be building a firehouse to fit a regular ladder truck. So that's how the building was scaled, to fit a regular ladder truck. So so everyone's aware. And then in October, the council that was sitting here voted on the final design and the budget to move.
Well, the final rendering, not the final design.
But I have to disagree.
It's a rendering, it is not a design.
But I have to disagree because I have the paperwork from Mr. Connolly that was submitted to the council at the time, and it was full schematics of the entire floor plan with the height measurements of the building, and I can forward it to every council member here.
That's fine.
All of that information was submitted to the council at the July 7th meeting, and the information was submitted again on not July 7th, it was July 19th. July 19th meeting, and then was again resubmitted to the council on the October 7th meeting. So I encourage you all to go back and watch, because there were a lot of questions asked that were very, very good. So, thank you. So just to let you know, I was concerned about transparency and what happened, and I did go back and do my research, and that was the actual progression of what happened. So if anybody has any questions, I spent a lot of time reading a lot of minutes, so if you'd like to ask me, I can tell you, and I can actually forward you the original plans that were included during those meetings for that time.
Excellent. Thank you, Stacy. If you could forward that to me, that'd be great.
Okay, I will. And it was full plans that were sent out, just so everyone's aware. That's all I had. I did have one question. The 5 cement tanks that Mr. Pistone was referring to, could somebody just tell me what that's for?
That is part of the stormwater system that was not previously put in. I don't know where or why you thought that. It's being done now with the other site work.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had for the evening. Okay, this evening we have the pleasure of Mr. Gary Vinci. He's going to be reviewing the corrective.
Stacey, you have to
Yeah.
do the introduction ordinance. That should take you 2 minutes.
Oh,
Before you get to the
okay,
resolution.
so this is out of whack, okay. All right. That we're gonna do the introduction and then, yes, where do you want Mr. Vinci, does it matter?
All the microphones are working, so maybe he's comfortable.
Okay, introduction, first reading, ordinance number 21-16, an ordinance under chapter 87 of the Code of the Township of Washington, setting forth the rate of clothing allowance of, this is not right, is it?
Yes, rate of clothing allowance, yes.
Okay. The rate of clothing allowance of officers and firefighters of the fire department in said municipality for the year 2021. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 21-16 at first reading by title. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, I have to recuse myself from voting on this.
Oh, wait.
Mhm.
Okay.
So let's do a roll call
Yeah,
then.
let's do roll-
matters.
Okay, let's do
Thank
roll
you.
call.
Councilman Cassio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
It's just one blank, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
I recuse my vote.
thank you. Council President Feeney,
Yes.
thank you.
Resolution number 21-323, authorizing publication of ordinance number 21-16 and schedule a public hearing. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We gotta take a roll call again.
All right.
Ken-
Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Sure.
Ken, can he vote on that part? Or does he have to?
He doesn't want to vote on it.
It's okay.
All right, so do you want me, what do you want me to do? Roll call?
Roll call.
Councilman Cassio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Recuse my vote.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay. The following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed for the consent agenda. So I'm automatically going to remove,
Stacy,
Sorry.
should Mr. Vinci sit down?
no, we're almost there. Resolution, I'm going to remove resolution number 21-307, approval of corrective action plan for 2020 audit recommendations, and actually resolution number 21-324, authorized payment of bills, September 30th, 2021 to October 14th, 2021. Does anybody else want to have any additional items removed? Okay. Resolution number 21-324.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Feeney, can we remove 325?
Sure. Okay, so we're gonna just do all of them at the end then.
Individual, yep.
Okay, so resolution number 21-307, approval of corrective action plan for the 2021 audit recommendations. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, and now discussion. Mr. Vinci. You're up.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to review with you the township audit. We provided the township with the audit a couple of months ago, and if I could just maybe give you a brief overview of the financial condition before we get into the audit recommendations.
Absolutely, thank you.
At the end of 2020, the township ended the year just under $3.5 million of surplus, slightly lower, a few $100,000 lower than the prior year. But I think what's important when you look at the dollar amount of your surplus, that's roughly 25% of your budget. So I think when you look at it in comparison to your budget, it is a healthy surplus. Obviously, maintaining the level of surplus is very important going forward. That works in conjunction with your stabilization of your tax rate as well as budget development for future years. So that is a very important factor going forward. The audit included 5 recommendations. I think when you look at the recommendations, none of the recommendations are labeled as significant or material, but we are suggesting that corrective action be implemented to review some of the internal accounting records and basically to clean up some of the balances that are reported within those accounting records. Do you want me to go through each one individually or?
You wouldn't mind?
No, not at all. No problem at all. The first recommendation dealt with the open purchase orders that are in the accounting system. some of the purchase orders we noticed that have been outstanding actually extend more than 2 years. All those POs, purchase orders that are greater actually than a year should be reviewed. They should be either canceled or a determination should be made whether those orders will be filled. You cannot really use a purchase order from 2017 for an item that you're purchasing in 2021. So it's a question of just trying to clean up the internal accounting records. Any cancellations would then basically go back into your operating surplus.
If there's still money outstanding under municipal accounting, can you move that money into a new purchase order? Or do you need to reissue?
You need to create a new purchase order against the current year budget. The second recommendation and this deals with current fund. Current fund, again, is the budgetary accounting system, the one that you prepare or approve every year, the budget. There are some grant reserves that have been open for a few years. Some of the grants are funded by Bergen County. Some are funded by the state of New Jersey, Department of Transportation. So it's very important to either complete the project. More importantly, it's also important to file the paperwork to receive the reimbursement, especially from the county. There is always a delay in being reimbursed from the county. I know there was discussion about the bocce court. The bocce court is one of those grants that has not been spent. Trust fund reserves, there are some minor accounts that the township has open balances, and before you can actually spend some of those monies, you actually need the state approval. And we did review the recommendations with the CFO. So if there are resolutions before the council for a dedication by writer, it's items that we have brought to his attention as part of the audit process. Purchase orders being encumbered when contracts are awarded. Firehouse contract, for example, once the council approves the contract, the purchase order should be immediately encumbered and all future payments should be drawn down against it. Just a matter of, again, making sure that the various budgets have all the purchase orders charged and reported correctly. And the last item deals with the fixed assets. The township has an independent appraisal company that updates your fixed assets. What I think is important is to really decide whether you want an independent appraisal company come in or those records be updated internally. Because when you use an independent appraisal company, they base their information on what you provide them. So if something is not provided to them, it's not going to be in their fixed asset report. If you maintain it in-house and you have the fixed asset module, it is linked with the purchase order system. So it will automatically update it. So one of the ideas that we discussed is to make sure that you did have the fixed asset module. If not, find out what the cost of that would be and determine whether it was feasible to go down that path to have those records maintained in-house.
And I believe Edwards also has a barcoding system that you can use to attach the labels to the fixed assets, to scan them every year.
I think that is correct.
Yeah. Do we have just out of curiosity, do we have a fixed asset minimum or threshold?
You do. It can be $5,000.
Okay.
So it typically works with your insurance policy. That's the way you control whether you have proper coverage on your equipment.
But Mr. Vince, we've had years, this was something the council had done 3 years ago. We hired the firm because there was no fixed asset inventory in existence. So that's why it got done by a private company, because we didn't have the means to do it in-house. So at least we got rid of one of your previous comments of having one. So that's where this all came about. So maybe it's time to move away from, you're saying, to move away from having an independent person do it, to having our own staff do it?
Well, I think what's important is to make sure that the report from the prior year is updated for 2020's activity through 2021, especially with the construction of the the firehouse. So we have to make sure that everything is collected as part of that fixed asset inventory.
And the barcodes are nice because they'll issue the asset ID tag, which you can tie back and it'll keep the depreciation in the system also.
Correct.
Madam President, just to clarify a few things. Number one, in 2020, the survey wasn't done because we wouldn't do it because of COVID.
Oh,
Part two, currently our equipment is barcoded,
oh, great.
so we know what's left to be done.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Vincent.
That's okay.
Thank you. I didn't know that. That's great. And I guess that makes sense because of COVID. Hopefully we won't be using that next year. Hopefully it'll go away.
Mr. Vinsky, can you give me an example of number 3, exactly how that would be rectified?
So there are some minor trust reserves. For example, if you receive donations for the police department, the money will go into a trust reserve. But in order to spend those monies, you actually have to receive approval from the state. And we call it a dedication by rider resolution. So typically the state will approve donations to be spent. But if you collect the money, doesn't necessarily mean you have the authority to spend it yet.
So basically, you have to get a trust, you have to get approval from the state.
Correct.
And usually they grant that approval.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have anything. I mean, you're going to be checking in with the CFO on these the next.
I will follow up with the CFO to make sure that the corrective action plan does address the items that we did.
So will
include in the
the CFO actually be preparing a plan of how it says immediate and ongoing? Have you reviewed what he has been doing immediately to get on track to get these issues resolved, Mr. Vitsi, or not yet?
Not yet, but we will if the council wants us to review his progress.
I think would be a good idea to check.
Well, it says immediate.
I can actually update everyone on that. I've spoken to the CFO regarding this. He has a plan in place, have all the matters resolved by year's end. I asked him to put that in writing. I should have that next week.
So you'll share that with the council, Mr. Toba?
And with Mr. Vincent.
So once you have that plan, Mr. Vinci, you'll approve it and say this is a good start to getting us on?
I may need to look at some internal accounting records just to validate it, but yes, that would be a start to making sure those procedures are addressing
what your audit is
our
saying.
recommendations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, we have to wait. We have to wait. No, you have to wait.
Yeah. Well, I know that's going to be sending in a resolution if it's approved tonight to
well,
state. That's what I want to make sure.
Just email them all that. That's fine. Okay, any other council members or? Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Okay.
Vincent.
You're welcome.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other internal discussion?
No, I don't have
With council? Okay. Sue, roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Resolution number 21-324, authorized payment of bills September 30th, 2021 to October 14th, 2021.
Motion.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
So I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
On page 1, the long one.
The list.
Yeah, that's the list of it, yep. I see, I think it's page 1, yeah. For perennial, it's like, I don't know, 10, maybe 10 down. Perennial Services LLC, that invoice is from 2020. Is that because the vendor submitted this late? Is that why we're paying it now?
We actually have two bills you see there. One was a late bill received by us, and the second was for this year. And just to clarify, that is our contract for fertilizing and weed control.
Okay. And then, actually, right above it, 1, 2, 3, 4 above it, Bergen County Utilities. That wastewater service agreement, do you anticipate we're going to need to put more in for the budget, or do you think it'll stabilize? Because now that people are continuing to work from home.
Hopefully it starts coming down. If you recall, we did increase it because of COVID. We've seen it pretty level since then.
Okay.
Maybe in 22 we can predict a downturn, but we don't know yet.
Okay.
No.
I had a question on that page. Can I go now?
Okay, yeah.
So on Herc Rentals, is that the container for the DPW about halfway down the page, Mr. Chairman?
We have numerous containers. DPW would have some, the ambulance corps has at least one, so I'm not sure which ones they are, but yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have another one. On page 2, ProPack, oversized special needs cot and all of that, what is that for? For $3,098, what is that?
My page 2 and yours are not the same, but I know that is for cots we purchased for OEM and fire, DMF, police, whoever needs it when we have to go into emergency mode and they can't go home.
Okay. And then halfway down the page, regional communications, the antenna installation. Was this Art's communication project with the antenna installation, 13,000? Was that the one Art was?
No, ma'am. This is for the new ESB building.
Okay.
Where was this antenna installed, Mr. Toba? Because I haven't seen it. That was on my.
It has not been installed yet.
So why are we paying for it?
Well, we bought some of the equipment for it, and now it's got to be installed. So I think some of the interior work has been done for the cabling and the running of the wires and the conduit. I don't think they're ready to do the outside install yet.
Okay.
So this is a partial bill or is this a full bill?
I have a different page than you do, so what is the number?
On page 5.
That is the majority of the bill.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tupper.
That is the majority of the bill.
So if the work is not completed, why are we paying the bill?
Well, a lot of the work has to be done in the shop before it can be brought here and simply installed. Everything must be programmed.
That's all I have.
I had a question on what's the JD loader? Is that the new
Are you guys reading off of these sheets or the?
No, I'm sorry.
No, the Excel
Sorry.
I usually have that. Okay, sorry.
Excel sheet.
Sorry.
Where are you?
The first page,
The Excel sheet.
like 4 from the bottom.
Jessica?
Yeah.
JD loader.
That is repairs to one of the loaders, hydraulic system. Sorry, my mouth is dry, no water left.
I had one more question. I just wanted to say I'm glad to see the payments going out for the Safer Grant distribution. That's for the assistance. And we are looking for firefighter volunteers and EMS volunteers too, just to mention that. Anybody else?
That's all I have.
I just have one request.
sure.
If we're gonna go by this sheet, please let me know. I'll review that one. I use this one, it's got more detail on it.
This one's
No.
easier for me.
I have no problem with the way, just,
Sorry about that.
No problem.
no worries.
That's 3, 2, 4. Okay, let's do roll call.
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
No.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Resolution number 21-325, authorizing the sale of surplus property no longer needed for public use on an online auction. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
So moved.
Discussion?
Mr. Toba, what are we auctioning?
There's a list attached to your resolution.
I didn't get that schedule, sorry.
Yes, you did.
Right, it's not in my packet.
Yes, you did.
If you'd like to look.
I will look anytime and find it in your packet, trust me.
Tell him, Sue.
Trust me, you all get the same thing as it feeds through the copier all at the same time. So if one has it, the other has it. And I will give you.
Mike, I just found mine.
That's the one.
This is Mr. Sears. No, Mr. Sears just gave me his. I don't have it.
Right here. You have it.
Can we get rid of is the 2010 1033 surplus, Mr. Belvo? Right here?
Sorry, what are you referring to?
Is the first item on the list 1033 surplus?
What's it called? I don't have the list in front of me.
210 military tank trailer, single axle.
Yes, yes, it is.
Have we owned it long enough to?
We have.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. That's my only question I have.
Of course it's in there.
For the record, Mike had it.
Thank you, Mrs. Wachowski.
You're welcome, Councilman DeSena.
It's like the dog.
My pleasure.
What's the time that you have to keep the 1033s for it to be townships?
12 months.
12 months.
No, I just wanted to make sure we met it because I thought we just recently got that trailer.
Not that trailer.
Not that
That
one.
one we had prior to me arriving.
Oh, so there's two of them now.
The DPW has one, police,
So we're getting rid of
two
one.
very different ones.
Gotcha. Okay. I just wanted to make, because I remember we just got one and I was worried that it was the one.
Yeah, the first one didn't work for the intended purpose, the second one does.
Thank you. That's all. That's the only question I had in this meeting.
Anybody else? Sue, roll call.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Okay. Resolution number 21-326, authorize application to New Jersey DCA recreational opportunities for individuals with disabilities grant program. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion required?
No.
Sue, roll call.
Councilman Cassio.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes.
I did good, right?
Yeah, yes. You got five, right? 1, 2, 3, yeah. Oh, just regarding this grant, watch for, in addition to this, watch for some additional recreation programs coming in the winter. Adjournment to conference agenda. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break since Mr. Chobo stepped down. Okay? The business we have on the conference agenda is zoning procedures, town projects. Councilman Casio.
Okay, so as Ken said, there's very few towns that have it as an ordinance. It's more of an administrative deal when they have a project going out, such as a firehouse or a radio tower or whatever it may be. So Ken is right in that regard, that it's very awkward because, you know, most municipalities don't want to be impeded by following, you know, local zoning ordinances, and which is true. But I feel that, you know, we don't have to follow other towns. We can do something that's just for our town. What I put in the packet is basically the state section code about notifying residents. But again, you know, we had a situation with the firehouse saying that, and most residents, it's very hard to follow internal politics. They don't really follow stuff that's going on until after the fact that it affects them. Okay, just like we have with the firehouse. So I don't see why there isn't a reason why we can't do something and change our zoning law. Okay, that would go in front of the zoning board.
Well, I don't think we should change the law.
Well, let me, before we nitpick and stuff, we have a zoning board. And the only purpose to have a zoning board, the sole purpose of a zoning board, is to grant variances. That's all they do. Okay, something falls without the scope of a particular ordinance, they can go in and, you know, grant a contingency. But most towns, like Rivervale, Hillsdale, they have it administratively for municipal projects. It's not in an ordinance set by the council. So I think maybe what we can do, we can put it in our ordinance that we'd have an administrative review. It holds no weight, really, when you think about it, but at least you give the opportunity to the residents surrounding a particular or proposed project to have a little say. Again, they can't really stop it, but at least you get some feedback from the residents. Again, you could do it administratively if the administration chooses to do so, and that's how most towns do it. Or you can put it into an ordinance saying, you know, if we have a municipal project going forward, that maybe the administration should, or the council or zoning board should invite those people in the immediate area. So it's your choice. We'd be treading and, you know, shedding new water on this if you put it into an ordinance. So it's entirely up to what the council wants to do. I just wouldn't want it to happen again in our municipality, since we're getting, I don't want to call it blowback, but concern from residents. Okay, I think it's, you know, a fair thing to do. It wouldn't hurt. Again, our hands are not tied by doing it whatsoever, but it's always good to just hear from the residents if we decide to do another project. And that's all I have for tonight. So you can take that for what it's worth.
I think it should be procedural, an informational meeting. I've done many in my past life. Sometimes you get good feedback from the residents, sometimes you don't. So they are as you stated in the article, Ken, they are an impedance for the I don't know, you used a more eloquent term than what I just said, but it was something we always did. It was important that we get the feedback from the constituents in the local area, and plus the town also then knew what was going on. Because many residents, like we said, until it affects them in their backyard, don't care about what's really going on other than the financial aspects of it. They really don't know. So it is a good idea for a procedural, but that's where I stop. I don't want to do any more than that. That would be my request, is that we make it that the town present the new projects coming forward. We have a lot of new projects that will probably come to fruition in the future because, we need a new DPW yard. There's other things that need to happen. So, I think we should present, maybe one day we'll present a bocce ball court at Martini Park, Martini Park, not DeMartini Park. So, those residents who know, hey, you're going to have a bocce ball court next year in the nice park next to your land. So I just like to see it as an administrative, no teeth to it, as you would say. So just to inform the residents in the local area, and by registered letter also.
We can do registered letter now, right?
Let me just say that I don't think it's a good idea to put in an ordinance. You start putting things, then if something comes up and you happen to not go to the, whatever, for the review, and you don't need it, all of a sudden, oh, it's a violation of the ordinance. I think it should be, as all these towns do it, administratively. You can go before, and the board I would go before is the planning board, not the zoning board. The planning board is the board, the planning board, they handle site plans, they handle developments, they handle that. The zoning board is really, interprets, what the zoning code official says, and also has the power to grant variances. And even though they have site plan authority, when they have a variance application, the board that actually handles the developments is a planning board. So,
That's good.
and I think that you could get plenty of information from the planning board. You could open it up to people, you know, and have input, not necessarily a public hearing with stenographers and stuff like that, but you can get input from the public. And there's a lot of ways to involve the public. You can send out the certified letters. And you don't have to limit yourself to 200 feet, by the way. Just because it's 200 feet doesn't mean it's 200 feet. That's just what the law requires when you're going through an application. But if you decide that maybe it should be more, maybe it should be more. If you decide to put out a notice to the public, advertise to the public, do a lot of things, you know, there's a lot of things you can do, and I think it's a good thing. The only thing I didn't want to see is the town getting hamstrung, is what I said, right?
Hamstrung. Well, and you're absolutely right, Ken. All the presentations I've made have always been to the planning board, so I would not want to see it go to the zoning, because the planning is the right board to go to. So
Mr. Power, from that perspective,
there's nothing to draw up.
that's my question.
Nothing to draw up. Basically, it's a procedural, as was mentioned before. When there is a project, you know, arrangements should be made for, you know, scheduling, get in touch with the planning board, schedule it for a hearing before them, and send out your notices, and when they decide this, you know, something might be like 500 feet, maybe half the town, who knows? You may want to put out a whole notice to a lot more or a specific group of residents. It is a gigantic thing. You know, I think what I'm aiming at is a flexible approach depending upon the project. For example, I mean, if you're talking about putting up a firehouse, you might want to put out a big net and have, you know, a real involvement. If you're putting up like a dog park in one little area, maybe it's not as humongous as, you know, I'm just throwing that out.
Right.
I'm not minimizing dogs, I'm just.
Right. Ken, question, when you talk about doing something procedurally, right? So let's say we have, you know, over multiple administrations, how do you get it that it should be done on record for continued administrations?
I think you can't.
Where would you?
You can't guarantee that. Even if you put an ordinance in, Steve, you can always change the ordinance.
Right, I understand
Okay.
that.
So I think that.
How would you put that down?
I just think that there's a feeling, there's a feeling and a knowledge across the board from administration and to councils and administration.
Right.
And so what should happen is if a project comes up, people up here should say, hey, okay, let's set up a hearing, let's set up something to planning
Right.
board. You're gonna have 5 council people, a mayor, you got a lot of people to bring that up and plus the public. So
Okay.
I think as long as it's now focused, if that's something that you want to do, I think you'll find it'll be a lot more usable.
Again, it doesn't have to be an ordinance for me. It just has to be available to the public. And I agree with you, the scope of the project should dictate the range of the involvement of a community.
Right.
You know, firehouse, huge thing. Putting up, you know, moving a DPW, huge thing.
A
Dog park.
perfect example would be 450 Pascal.
Right. That's a big.
When that comes into play, that's something that you would do something.
Yes. Okay. And that's, you know, that's all. Again, I just want there not to be any more misunderstandings with the public, and that's all the concern was. And obviously, it doesn't happen that way because, again, 2 ordinances in the whole state and minimal. I mean, we're talking like minimal requirements. It wasn't even worth bringing forward because it was like, okay, Obviously, no one does it, but again, Rivervale does it, Hillsdale does it when there's a major project. They're local, they're close, so that's who I took some
So
of the
based on
information
your
from.
research, you're not for an ordinance anymore, you're good
No,
with the
as long as
So
the-
you're good with the administrative approach?
I'm fine with the administrative approach, as long as there's opportunity for people to have input somehow. Not that we have to follow their input, and I hope we would, because we want to be empathetic with them. As long as it's there and the dais understands that, I'm okay with it. That's all. So hopefully we will have that same feeling on the dais at the present time.
I think administratively, it'd be fine. I would like to see the residents notified. I know that there are public hearings that are held for the buildings, but additional notification and wider net would be a positive for the town, wouldn't be a negative. I thought there'd be a push for an ordinance, but I am in agreement with doing it the administrative way so that we can use the planning board in its full capacity for those types of projects.
I'm okay with it. So I'll take it off for the next,
So, Vice President Morgan?
Agreed.
Councilman Sears?
Yeah, I kind of like that idea without jeopardizing. I'm just kind of wondering, how would we notify the individual homes in the area? Like, what process are we going to use?
Okay, so basically you'd use the same process as getting a list that if you were an applicant, for example, if it wasn't such a big project, you might say, okay, let's get a list from the tax collector of everybody within 200 feet. And you send that notice. If you decide that it should be in a different area, you'll advise the tax collector to give you a bigger list. And then you can send your notices.
So, what I gather is the gist of the complaints is they did not receive a official notification. They received a mail notification. So how do we correct the issue? Do we do both now?
Well, typically when you send one out, one goes regular mail. I know we've
Yeah.
gotten variances or we get
One goes regular,
doc
one
requests
goes
down.
certified.
One goes regular, one goes certified.
So will we be doing both now for a particular project?
I think we could work that into the plan where it goes regular mail and certified.
Well, I think that's the gist of a lot of complaints are, is that they didn't receive the mail, and certified mail.
Would get received.
We would get a receipt back, so, and if it's
Yeah, it should be
administrative, thing, I
certified.
like what Ken is saying, you get a small piece, you're not gonna like it, but I think the justice notification is the big key here.
Notification and size of the project need to be in
Yes,
sync.
yes, and that's the key to the, I think, basics of this whole problem.
So, who writes the procedure up?
No,
there's no written procedure.
Well, you have to
Well, I
do
don't
is
know,
say-
do we put some
No,
parameters down or?
No, you don't have parameters. Basically, you come up with a project and somebody on the dais will say, or the attorney will say, or somebody, do you want to refer this to the planning board? And you can say yes. And then,
So, Mr. Sears, since you're the liaison currently, so why don't we, I motion to have Mr. Sears be the responsible party to make sure that we hold everybody accountable for the time being. Is that good? Anybody disagree?
But anybody can make the motion if they want.
No, yeah, but since he's the liaison to the planning board, it would be good.
I really don't think you have to do that. I think, why don't you wait till the next project comes up? Let's see how people jump up and say, okay, let's do this, and we'll go through notifying, it's not a major thing.
No.
But we
I thought we were
should
supposed to get ahead
have
of it,
some
though.
kind of administrative steps in place because of this. Okay, but I do agree with you.
Yeah, let's get a project and work it out to see how it works, rather than coming up with some theoretical thing. Everybody wants to do it, everybody knows that's what we're gonna do, and the very next project that comes up is exactly what we're gonna do. So we'll kind of work through it, and you'll see it'll work pretty easy. And don't forget, when an application is done normally, application filed, and then they ask for the list, they do the mailing, and they got in touch with the planning board secretary, and it's not a, it's not a major,
Right.
not a major thing.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else regarding that? Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vogt?
Nothing else.
Okay. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night.